Let me start by saying this. Success that dies when you die was never success. It was vanity, because real success, real legacy, it breathes long after you've stopped breathing. The world remembers not the ones who made noise, but the ones who made a difference. Too many of us are chasing the illusion of success, the cars, the applause, the validation. We want people to say our names, but not to remember our work. We want to be rich, but not relevant. And that, my friends, is the tragedy of our generation. Let me tell you something that will shake the foundation of how you define success. If your success ends with you, it was never real success. Think about that for a moment. You can drive the best cars, live in the biggest house, and have your name flashing in lights, but if everything you've built dies the moment you stop breathing, you've merely lived for applause, not for impact, and applause fades. But impact echoes. The world today has taught us to celebrate success that shines, not success that sustains. We live in an age where people want to be seen, not remembered. Everyone wants to go viral, but no one wants to go vital, because being viral gets you attention. Being vital gets you legacy. The truth is, most people are obsessed with becoming somebody when they should be obsessed with building something. You see, there's a difference. When you build something, it lives beyond you. When you only build yourself, it dies with you. Let me give you a hook right here. The truest measure of success is not what happens when you arrive. It's what happens after you're gone. The question isn't how high did you rise? It's how long does what you built stand when you're no longer there to hold it? That's the problem with temporary success. It looks beautiful, but it's fragile. It's like a sandcastle, impressive for a moment, destroyed by the first wave. You can spend years building a reputation, a brand, a name, and all it takes is time or death to make it vanish, because it was never built on purpose, it was built on ego. When success is about you, it dies with you. But when success is about others, it outlives you. The people we remember, the ones whose names echo through time, they didn't live to be known. They lived to make a difference. Look at Nelson Mandela, look at Mother Teresa, look at Steve Jobs. Their bodies are gone, but their work still speaks. That's success. That's the kind of life that builds bridges long after you've crossed the river. Here's the irony. The more you chase personal success, the more empty it becomes. Because fulfillment doesn't come from having more, it comes from meaning more. You can fill your garage with cars, your bank with zeros, and your walls with awards, but if your story ends with you, the world loses when you go. That's not success. That's selfishness disguised as achievement. Let me challenge you today. When you say you're working for success, what does that actually mean? Is your definition rooted in possessions or in purpose? Because purpose-driven success leaves fingerprints on the future. It's about planting trees under whose shade you may never sit. It's about creating opportunities for others to rise, building systems that don't depend on your presence to function, and living in a way that your influence continues even in your absence. You see, the greatest leaders don't just achieve, they transfer. They transfer knowledge, vision, courage, and values. They don't want their name to be remembered. They want their impact to be felt. That's what separates the successful from the significant. The successful climb the mountain, the significant build a path so others can follow. Every day you wake up, ask yourself this: if I stopped existing today, what part of me would keep working for others? Maybe it's a business that gives people jobs. Maybe it's a mindset that inspires others to believe. Maybe it's a lesson, a book, a system, or a child you raised with the right values. Whatever it is, build it now, because the moment you die, your possessions transfer, but your purpose either continues or ends. Let's be honest. Too many people want to be remembered for their lifestyle, not their legacy. They want the world to know what they had, not what they gave. But history doesn't remember rich men. It remembers useful men. Success that ends with you serves your ego. Success that outlives you serves humanity. The one builds your image, the other builds your immortality. So the next time you measure success, don't count your money, count your impact. Don't count followers, count lives changed. Don't celebrate what you've gained, celebrate what you've given. Because the mark of true success is not how much you owned, it's how much of yourself you left behind in others. And I know some of you might be thinking, but Vusi, I'm still trying to build myself. How can I think about legacy? Here's the truth. Legacy doesn't start when you're rich. It starts when you're ready. It starts when you shift from asking, what can I get, to what can I give? You don't need millions to make an impact. You just need intention. You don't need power to change lives. You just need purpose. Let me drop a hard truth right here. When your definition of success doesn't include others, you're setting yourself up for a short story. Because selfish success expires. It's temporary, fragile, and easily forgotten. But selfless success, success built on service, it compounds, it multiplies, it lives on in others. You can't call it success if it dies with you. Real success creates something that can stand without you, something that moves even when you stop moving. Your voice may fade, but your vision should echo. Your presence may vanish, but your principles should stay alive. So the question is not, how successful are you right now? The question is, will your success survive you? Because if your empire crumbles when you're gone, you didn't build an empire. You built a monument to yourself. And monuments, no matter how beautiful, eventually fall. But movements last. Movements shape minds, inspire hearts, and rebuild nations. Build something that will speak when you no longer can. Live in such a way that your story becomes someone else's instruction manual. Because success that ends with you isn't success. It's noise that time will silence. But success that outlives you, that's music eternity will keep replaying. Let me say something that might sting a little. Luxury fades, but legacy multiplies. The watch loses its shine, the car loses its value, the applause dies out, but the difference you make in people's lives, that never depreciates. We live in a world obsessed with display, not with depth. Everyone wants to look successful, but very few want to be significant, and that's the problem. We've mistaken the symbols of success for the substance of success. Here's a hook for you. Luxury impresses the moment. Legacy influences the generations. What you wear may make people notice you, but what you build will make people remember you. You see, there's a kind of success that screams, "Look at me," and another kind that whispers, "Learn from me." Which one are you chasing? I've met people with wealth dripping from their wrists, but emptiness bleeding from their souls. They have everything that can be bought, but nothing that can be remembered. Because luxury is easy to acquire, but legacy is hard to build. Luxury is external. Legacy is eternal. One fills your house, the other fills your purpose. One ends at your door, the other begins in someone else's life. You can spend your whole life collecting things that look expensive and still die poor. Poor in impact, poor in meaning, poor in memory. Luxury is about ownership. Legacy is about influence. And influence is something money can't buy. It's built through character, service, and consistency, through living a life that others can learn from, not just look at. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Many people don't want to leave a legacy because legacy takes work. It takes humility to think beyond yourself. It takes vision to plant seeds you might never see grow. But that's where greatness lives, in the courage to build for a future you may never experience. Think about it. What do you remember about the greatest figures in history? You don't remember their clothes. You don't remember their possessions. You remember their contribution. Mandela didn't wear designer suits. He wore the scars of struggle. Mother Teresa didn't drive luxury cars since she carried the weight of compassion. Steve Jobs didn't chase the richest man title. He chased innovation that changed how the world communicates. These people didn't live in luxury, but they lived with legacy. Luxury is momentary comfort. Legacy is permanent change. And the sad part is, too many people choose comfort over contribution. They work hard to buy things they don't need, to impress people they don't like, only to wake up one day realizing that they've built a mansion but not a meaning. You can live in the biggest house in the city and still feel homeless inside because you never built something that matters. Here's the hook. The things you buy will belong to someone else one day, but the things you build will belong to history. The car will rust, the clothes will fade, the brand will go out of style. But if you build people, ideas, and principles, they'll live on long after your name is forgotten. True success isn't measured in square feet, it's measured in human impact. The greatest form of luxury is seeing someone rise because of something you started. When you mentor a young entrepreneur, when you teach someone a skill, when you create opportunities for others, that's legacy. You might not get headlines for it, but you'll get heaven's approval for it. Luxury is a mirror that reflects you. Legacy is a window. It lets light shine through you. And when you choose legacy over luxury, you shift from being impressive to being influential. People might forget how stylish you were, but they will never forget how you made them feel, how you inspired them to move, how you changed their direction. Let's be real. Luxury feeds the ego, but legacy fuels the soul. Ego always wants more. The soul always wants meaning. You can spend your whole life climbing a ladder only to realize it was leaning against the wrong wall. Don't build a life that looks successful. Build one that is successful, and real success always leaves something behind. You want to know what makes a man or woman truly rich? It's not the money they earn, but the memories they create. It's not the property they own, but the people they empower. It's not the luxury they display, but the legacy they deposit. Because the day you die, your luxury will stay behind, but your legacy will move forward. People may admire your possessions, but they'll follow your principles. They may talk about your house, but they'll be transformed by your habits. They may see your car, but they'll carry your courage. You don't need to live in luxury to build a legacy. You just need to live with purpose. Here's another hook. Luxury feeds your name. Legacy feeds your nation. If your success only benefits you, it's too small. True success benefits others. It's distributive, not decorative. The question is not, how much have you earned? The question is, how many lives have you changed? Stop chasing the illusion of having more. Start building the intention of becoming more. Because when you die, people won't read your bank statements. They'll read your story. And what a tragedy it would be to have a rich bank account, but a bankrupt legacy. You see, luxury doesn't define you. It distracts you. It keeps you polishing your image while your influence rusts. But legacy demands that you invest in people, in principles, in purpose. It demands that you think beyond the weekend and start thinking beyond your lifetime. So don't waste your years chasing luxury that ends in dust. Use your life to create legacy that turns into destiny. The watch will stop ticking one day. The car will stop running. The brand will lose relevance. But if you've lived with purpose, your impact will keep moving. Because luxury may sparkle in the light, but legacy shines in the dark. When you're gone, when you're silent, when all that's left is what you built. And that's the truth. Luxury fades, but legacy multiplies. One dies with your name, the other lives with your purpose. One fills your closet, the other fills the world. One is forgotten in time, the other becomes timeless. Let me tell you something that might change the way you chase success. Don't be famous, be valuable. Fame is a photograph. Value is a footprint. One lasts for a moment. The other lasts for a lifetime. We live in a time where people are obsessed with being seen rather than being useful. Everyone wants followers, but no one wants to be followed for something meaningful. We are so busy chasing attention that we've forgotten to chase authenticity. Here's a hook. Fame makes people know your name, but value makes people remember your work. Fame gets you invited to the table, but value keeps you there. Because sooner or later, the applause stops. The lights go out. The cameras turn off. And when that happens, what's left? Your fame or your value? The truth is, fame is borrowed, but value is earned. You can buy attention, but you can't buy respect. You can trend today and be forgotten tomorrow. That's how fame works. It's conditional, fragile, and temporary. It depends on people's moods, not on your meaning. But value is different. Value doesn't depend on how loud you are. It depends on how useful you are. Look around. The world is full of people who became famous for nothing and valuable for no one. They mastered the art of getting noticed, but failed at the art of making a difference. And here's the irony. The louder they became, the emptier they felt. Because deep down, the human soul doesn't crave attention. It craves impact. Attention fills your ego. Impact fills your spirit. Let me say this clearly. Fame is about visibility. Value is about viability. Visibility gets you seen. Viability keeps you relevant. People might notice you once, but they'll come back again and again if you offer something they can't find anywhere else. Value. So stop asking, how can I get more followers? And start asking, how can I give people something worth following? The great ones, the real leaders, the change makers, they didn't aim for fame. They aimed for function. They focused on solving problems, on creating opportunities, on serving others. And in doing so, fame followed them. They didn't need to shout. Their work spoke for them. Because value doesn't advertise, it attracts. Think about it. Martin Luther King Jr. didn't wake up and say, I want to be famous. He said, I have a dream. Mother Teresa didn't post about compassion. She lived it. Steve Jobs didn't chase celebrity. He chased innovation. These people became known because they became needed. Fame followed them because value found them. Here's a hook for you. When you become valuable, you'll never have to chase opportunity again. Opportunity will start chasing you. The world rewards value. The marketplace rewards value. Life rewards value. The question is, what value are you bringing to the world right now? Because if your presence doesn't make people better, your absence won't matter. And if your work disappears when the spotlight turns off, then you were performing, not producing. Anyone can entertain. Few can empower. We've built a culture that glorifies being known more than being knowledgeable. We celebrate exposure instead of excellence. But fame without substance is like a balloon, big, shiny, and empty inside. It floats for a moment, but sooner or later it bursts. You can't live your life chasing applause from people who don't even know what they're clapping for. The truth is, fame fades faster than you think. One scandal, one mistake, one forgotten post, and the same crowd that cheered for you will move on to the next face. But when you're valuable, you're irreplaceable. People don't forget the doctor who saved their life, the teacher who believed in them, the leader who inspired them. That's what value does. It engraves your name, not on walls, but in hearts. Stop trying to be popular. Start striving to be purposeful. Because popularity makes you visible to people, but purpose makes you valuable to the world. When you find your purpose and live it boldly, you'll create ripples that reach far beyond fame. Fame dies with memory. Purpose lives with meaning. Here's another hook. Don't just make people watch you. Make people grow because of you. Fame is attention that ends when the audience leaves. Value is transformation that begins when the audience acts. One ends at applause. The other starts with it. The world doesn't need another celebrity. It needs more contributors, more problem solvers, more builders of meaning. Ask yourself this. If your name was erased from the internet tomorrow, would your impact still exist? If not, you're not valuable enough yet. You see, value doesn't need a platform. It creates one. It doesn't need validation. It earns it. Value is not in being seen. It's in being felt. The moment you stop trying to impress people and start trying to improve them, your life will change. Fame might open doors, but value keeps them open. Fame gets you in the room, but value gives you a seat at the table and respect that no one can take away. The world may forget your face, but it will never forget your fingerprints. The marks you leave on people's lives through your words, your work, your service. Every act of kindness, every innovation, every lesson taught adds value to the world. And that's how you build a name that lasts longer than the noise. Don't let the hunger for recognition kill the purpose of contribution. The people who truly change the world rarely start with applause. They start with a mission. They start small, consistent, quiet, and suddenly the world takes notice, not because they shouted, but because they served. So here's the challenge. Stop asking, how can I be known? And start asking, how can I be needed? Because fame without value is like a candle in the wind. Pretty, but it dies too soon. But value is the fire that ignites others. It spreads, it grows, it endures. Fame fades, value compounds. Fame gets forgotten, value gets inherited. Fame is about self, value is about service. And when you live a life of service, you build something that no algorithm can erase. Relevance with meaning. Because when all the lights go off and all the noise dies down, the world won't ask, how many people knew your name? It will ask, how many people became better because you lived? That, my friend, is the kind of fame that doesn't fade, the kind that grows, the kind called value. Let me tell you something powerful. True success multiplies beyond your lifetime. The kind of success worth chasing doesn't stop when your story ends. It begins when your story inspires another. The world doesn't remember the ones who only succeeded for themselves. It remembers the ones whose success created more success. Because real greatness is not measured by what you built, but by what keeps building because of you. Here's a hook. You haven't truly succeeded until your success starts succeeding without you. That's the mark of legacy. That's the sign of true impact. The empire you build is only as great as its ability to grow when you're no longer there to lead it. The dream you create is only as powerful as its ability to ignite other dreams. Too many people work their whole lives trying to be the first to win, the first to make it, the first to break through. But the truly wise ones don't just want to be the first. They want to make sure they're not the last. They don't climb the mountain just to plant their flag. They carve a path so others can climb too. That's how you multiply success. That's how you turn a moment into a movement. Success that dies with you is ego. Success that outlives you is evolution. Because when your ideas, your principles, your work continue to shape people long after you're gone, that's when you know you've built something real. That's when your existence becomes more than a story. It becomes a system. Here's the truth. You can't call yourself successful if your success doesn't empower someone else to become successful too. Because greatness is never about accumulation. It's about acceleration. It's about building structures, habits, and mindsets that continue to work even when you're not around to push them. Look at the world's greatest innovators and leaders. They didn't just build products, they built philosophies. Steve Jobs didn't just build Apple, he built a culture of creativity. Nelson Mandela didn't just win freedom, he built a vision of unity. These people didn't stop at personal victory. They created frameworks that others could use to achieve their own. That's why their names live on, not because of what they had, but because of what they started. So here's another hook. True success doesn't end with applause, it begins with inheritance. When people can inherit your mindset, your values, your systems, when what you've built becomes the foundation for someone else's climb, that's the highest level of success. You stop being an achiever and become an architect. You stop being a leader and become a legacy. The problem is most people want to be remembered, not replicated. They want to be unique, not useful. But the world doesn't need more heroes. It needs more harvests, more people who plant seeds that others can water. Real success doesn't ask, how far can I go? It asks, how far can others go because of me? You see, multiplication is the natural proof of mastery. When you've truly mastered something, you can teach it. You can duplicate it. You can spread it. That's why real leaders don't create followers. They create more leaders. Real builders don't create dependence. They create development. When your success gives birth to someone else's success, you've achieved immortality and purpose. But too many people guard their knowledge like a secret, fearing that someone else might surpass them. That's not leadership, that's insecurity. True leaders want others to win, even if they win bigger, because a legacy that stops with you was never great. It was just limited. Here's the hook. Your success should be a ladder, not a wall. A ladder lifts others. A wall blocks them. Ask yourself today, is your success helping others rise, or is it keeping others down? Are you building systems that others can use, or are you building gates to keep others out? Because if your success depends on others staying small, it's not success, it's control. The most powerful people in history didn't hold on. They handed over, they mentored, they taught, they shared. They understood that the power of legacy lies not in holding power, but in passing it on. The teacher who teaches someone to think differently creates a ripple effect that never ends. The entrepreneur who trains young people to innovate ensures that progress never stops. That's multiplication. That's real success. Think about this. The tree never eats its own fruit. Its purpose is to provide for others, and yet it grows stronger each season. Why? Because what you give away in purpose always comes back in power. When you invest in others, when you multiply your influence, your own growth becomes infinite. That's the paradox of success. The more you share it, the more it grows. True success isn't about how big your circle of influence is. It's about how far your influence travels after you're gone. Maybe you're building a company, writing a book, raising children, or mentoring someone. Whatever it is, do it with the intention to extend, to multiply, to make sure your efforts don't die at the edge of your name. When you think of success, stop measuring it by numbers and start measuring it by impact. Money runs out, but influence compounds. Titles fade, but transformation continues. Every great vision must outlive its visionary. Every great mission must move forward without the one who started it. If your dream can't run without you, then you've built a cage, not a legacy. Here's another hook. Success isn't proven when you achieve it, it's proven when it survives you. That's when you know you've built something real. When your team can run it, your children can grow it, your students can live it. That's not just success, that's succession. Every day, you have two choices. Build something that makes you important now, or build something that keeps you important forever. The first gives you attention, the second gives you immortality. And immortality isn't about living forever. It's about making sure your work does. Don't chase the kind of success that depends on your presence. Build the kind that thrives in your absence. Don't aim to be the final chapter. Aim to be the first volume of something bigger. Because when your success multiplies beyond your lifetime, your story never ends. It just keeps being rewritten in the lives of others who rise because of you. That's what true success is. Not what you achieve, but what you activate. Not what you leave behind, but what keeps growing because you once dared to start. Let me tell you something that separates the extraordinary from the ordinary. Purpose is the foundation of lasting success. Without purpose, success is a building without a foundation. Tall, impressive, but destined to collapse. You can have all the strategies, all the skills, and all the ambition in the world, but if you don't know why you're doing it, eventually you'll lose your way. Because money can fuel you, but only purpose can sustain you. Here's a hook. When your purpose is clear, your path becomes unstoppable. People who live with purpose don't need motivation. They have direction. They don't wake up asking, what should I do today? They wake up declaring, this is what I was born to do. That's the kind of fire no paycheck can replace. The tragedy of our generation is that we've confused purpose with profit. We've made the mistake of believing that success equals money. But the truth is, money is a byproduct. Purpose is the product. You can have money without meaning, but you can't have meaning without purpose. Money fills your pockets. Purpose fills your heart. And when the world shakes you, and it will, only one of them will hold you steady. Here's the reality. You can't build longevity on greed. Greed fades when goals are met, but purpose grows as lives are changed. Every empire built on greed eventually crumbles, but every vision built on purpose endures. Look at history. Every great company, every great movement, every great revolution started not with a desire for wealth, but with a desire for change. Wealth followed because purpose led. The most dangerous thing you can do is wake up every day chasing things instead of chasing meaning, because things don't last. Cars lose value, houses age, titles expire, but purpose gets stronger with time. It doesn't depreciate, it multiplies. And here's the paradox. The more you chase purpose, the more success chases you. But the more you chase success, the faster it runs from you. Let me give you a hook that'll stay with you. And money runs out when your why runs dry. That's why you see people who had it all, fame, fortune, followers, and still fell apart, because they had everything to live with, but nothing to live for. The outer world looked rich, but the inner world was bankrupt. Purpose is what gives meaning to success. It's the invisible backbone of every visible victory. When you live with purpose, failure doesn't break you, it builds you, because purpose gives pain a reason. When you know why you're climbing, every fall becomes a lesson, not a loss. But when you're living without purpose, every challenge feels like chaos. You quit not because you're weak, but because you don't know what you're fighting for. Purpose gives you power when progress seems impossible. And here's something most people don't understand. Purpose isn't about what you get, it's about what you give. It's about serving something greater than yourself. The moment your success stops serving others, it stops being success. True fulfillment doesn't come from applause, it comes from alignment. When your work aligns with your reason for being here. Purpose-driven people are unstoppable because they don't measure success by the size of the reward, but by the size of the impact. They are not chasing comfort, they are chasing contribution. They are not asking, what's in it for me? They are asking, who gets better because I showed up? That's what separates the shallow from the significant. When your work becomes an expression of your purpose, every day becomes meaningful. You stop competing and you start creating. You stop comparing and you start contributing. You stop running after trends and you start building truth. That's the power of purpose. It grounds you when the world tries to pull you in every direction. Let me drop another hook. Purpose turns pressure into power. When you're purpose-driven, challenges don't crush you. They carve you. They refine your focus, strengthen your resolve, and sharpen your vision. People who live for money burn out when it gets tough, but people who live for meaning burn brighter. Purpose doesn't remove the pain. It gives it meaning. You see, purpose-driven success outlives its creator. It builds legacies that time can't erase. Think about the people who changed history. Their purpose became their fuel. They didn't work for applause or profit. They worked for progress. When your purpose is right, even the smallest action becomes powerful. A teacher shaping minds, a doctor healing lives, an artist touching hearts. That's purpose in motion. That's success that breathes beyond the paycheck. The truth is, your purpose isn't something you find, it's something you remember. It's already inside you, buried beneath fear, expectation, and comparison. The world tries to convince you to chase what's shiny, but your soul is calling you to chase what's sacred. And once you align with that calling, life changes. You stop asking for permission to live meaningfully, and you start walking in your mission confidently. Here's another hook. When you know your purpose, rejection can't break you and approval can't make you. You stop living for validation because you already have direction. You no longer need people to believe in you when you've already decided to believe in your purpose. So many people spend their lives trying to be successful, but few ever stop to ask, what is my success supposed to serve? If your success doesn't serve anyone, it's a distraction. Purpose turns success from a personal achievement into a public blessing. You stop existing for applause and start existing for alignment. Alignment with something bigger, something eternal. The truth is, purpose doesn't make life easier. It makes it worth it. It doesn't eliminate struggle, it dignifies it. It gives you the strength to keep showing up when no one is watching. It reminds you that you're not here to take from the world, but to add to it. At the end of the day, you don't want to die rich. You want to die empty. Empty of potential, empty of excuses, empty because you gave everything you had to your purpose. That's the real measure of success. Not how much you gained, but how much you gave. Because the moment you start living with purpose, success becomes automatic. It follows you like a shadow that can't be separated from your light. So remember, money is temporary, but meaning is timeless. When you build your success on purpose, it stands when everything else falls. Because purpose is not a goal, it's the ground on which all true greatness stands. Let me tell you something most people never understand until it's too late. Recognition fades, but relevance endures. Recognition is about being seen. Relevance is about being needed. One feeds your ego, the other feeds your purpose. You can trend today and be forgotten tomorrow. But when you are relevant, the world cannot move forward without your contribution. Recognition dies with applause, but relevance echoes in impact. Here's a hook. Don't chase being noticed, chase being necessary. Because when you are necessary, even silence remembers your name. Recognition might fill your calendar, but relevance fills your legacy. It's easy to go viral, but it's rare to stay valuable. That's the difference between those who make noise and those who make history. The world has too many people shouting for attention and too few people solving real problems. Attention fades, but solutions stay. The problem with recognition is that it's addictive. The more you get, the more you crave. You start making choices not based on conviction, but on attention. You stop asking, is this right? And start asking, well, will this get likes? You start living for the crowd instead of your calling. But here's the truth. The crowd is never loyal. They'll cheer you today and forget you tomorrow. Relevance doesn't depend on applause. It depends on authenticity. When you are real, you will always matter. People who chase recognition are like fireworks, loud, bright, and gone in seconds. People who chase relevance are like stars, steady, consistent, and shining for generations. One is spectacle, the other is substance. The moment you start living for recognition, you become a prisoner of perception. Every post, every move, every decision becomes a performance. But when you live for relevance, you're free. You're not acting, you're impacting. Here's a powerful hook. Recognition makes you famous. Relevance makes you unforgettable. Fame is rented. Relevance is owned. Fame is what people say about you when you walk into a room. Relevance is what they feel when you leave it. Fame fades when trends change. Relevance deepens when times get tough. The world doesn't remember those who were famous. It remembers those who were foundational. Every generation has people who were recognized, celebrities, influencers, icons, but only a few become references, people whose names become blueprints for how to live, lead, and build. That's the difference between being popular and being pivotal. Recognition asks, who knows me? Relevance asks, who grows because of me? Relevance is built on contribution, not attention. You can't fake relevance. You can buy followers, but you can't buy impact. You can manipulate the algorithm, but you can't manipulate legacy. True relevance is earned through consistency, character, and care. You become relevant when your work starts speaking louder than your words. You become relevant when your actions continue long after your name stops trending. There's a reason why some people never go out of style, because what they gave to the world was not entertainment, it was enlightenment. They built systems, ideas, and values that continued to serve even when they were gone. When your work solves real problems, it doesn't matter whether people clap or criticize, your relevance will outlive their recognition. Here's a hook. Recognition is seasonal. Relevance is generational. Recognition makes people aware of you. Relevance makes people depend on you. And dependency builds destiny. You become a pillar, not a performer. You become a standard, not a statistic. That's why relevance is harder, because it demands discipline. Recognition can be accidental, but relevance is intentional. When you chase relevance, you're not asking, how can I be seen? You're asking, how can I serve? Because service creates significance. People forget who entertained them, but they never forget who helped them. The teacher who changed your mindset, the leader who made you believe again, the voice that helped you heal. Those are the people who stay relevant. The world is full of people trying to impress, but empty of people trying to impact. Everyone wants to be known, but few want to be useful. Relevance is built when usefulness becomes your currency. The more value you give, the more visible you become. Not because you shout, but because you shine. You don't need to announce relevance. Relevance announces you. Here's another hook. Recognition asks for attention. Relevance earns it. People who chase recognition spend energy trying to be noticed. People who chase relevance spend energy trying to make a difference. That's why one burns out while the other burns brighter. Recognition is about spotlight. Relevance is about substance. The spotlight moves on, but substance stays standing. Every person must decide, do you want to be remembered for the noise you made or the change you created? Do you want your name to trend or your work to transform? The truth is, relevance is quieter. It's built in silence, refined through failure, and proven over time. Recognition might come instantly, but relevance takes seasons. You can't microwave meaning. You build it one contribution at a time. The pursuit of relevance demands that you stop performing and start producing. It requires you to measure your success, not by applause, but by alignment. Alignment with your purpose, your principles, and your potential. Recognition is easy because it feeds your ego. Relevance is hard because it feeds your spirit. But when your spirit is fed, your legacy is secured. You don't become relevant by being everywhere. You become relevant by being effective. Some of the most relevant people aren't even visible. They're building, teaching, mentoring, creating, quietly shaping the world from the shadows, because relevance doesn't need a microphone. It just needs meaning. You don't need to be in front of everyone. You just need to be in position when it matters. Here's a final hook. Recognition expires. Relevance inspires. One is about memory. The other is about movement. Recognition ends when the noise stops. Relevance begins when the work starts. When you build relevance, you don't have to chase attention. Attention chases you. You don't have to shout to be heard. Your impact whispers your name through time. So stop chasing to be noticed and start working to be needed. The applause will fade, but the difference you make will echo. Because at the end of your life, the question won't be how many people knew you. It will be how many lives were better because you existed. That's the moment you'll realize recognition dies, but relevance never does.